and welcome to the AI Bots podcast. I'm Chazzy.
I'm Dan Clark.
And without further ado, may I present to you all our new co-host. He's my friend and yours. He's travelled all the way from across the border to be with us here at the AI Bots studio. It's a real pleasure indeed and an honour to be bringing someone so perceptive and witty, yet undiscovered to the world of podcasts. He's a man who needs no introduction other than to say that we're the proudest podcasters in the world.
Whoa, chill out, mate. It's alright, you can stop. Hey, I'm Ali Mitchell, how you doing?
Alright, mate. Fair enough. Be like that.
It's good to have you on board, man.
Exactly. Well, yeah, as I've said before, it's great to have you on board and we're proud to have you here, mate.
Cheers, yeah, it's going to be good.
Wow. Sell it. Yes. Really good.
It's going to be quite good, this. Anyway, shall we get things started?
Yes, mate, let's do it.
Because we've got some exciting... we've got a load of news. We've had a little sort of switch about of stuff. So we're going to give you the news right at the start. But what I think is probably the most important piece of news is now you all remember the THQ fire sale where franchises were being snapped up left, right and centre by developers like Homefront went to Christ Tech. And people were buying stuff, except for Darksiders, which sadly didn't get bought. Now, we couldn't afford Darksiders, but what we could afford is the rights to a pretty major franchise. Now, sit back in your seats. We've bought the rights to My Little Pony Pinkie Pie's Party on the DS.
Yeah, we've gone for the big guns.
Yeah. So, we're looking forward to bringing you, hopefully, a sequel to that at some time in the future. We couldn't stretch to the Windows version. There was a Windows version released as well, but I think Ubisoft have probably gone for that.
So, yeah, as Ali's first, duty as part of the AI Bots, he's going to have to take this franchise and do something with it. He's lead designer on it. So, I hear you're going to be going through My Little Pony Pinkie Pie's Party and trying to mine all the information you can out of it to make the second one so much better.
Well, yeah, I heard you guys went for it, and I've got to be honest, I was a bit dubious, but hey, first things first, play through this original game, find out the flaws, what we can make better in this sequel. It's going to be good.
You are actually ready to play it as well, aren't you?
Oh yeah, totally.
That's awesome. I do have to stress that the rights are for the DS version, not the 3DS version. We won't be making any 3D stuff. No, we're keeping it retro, aren't we?
Yeah,
keeping it real.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Keeping it old school.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That's our style.
So other than that massive, announcement, that's obviously going to get all the
that megaton rumor.
Well, yeah, exactly. Getting all the gaming blogs, really
hyped up.
Yeah, exactly. So
I've had to close my email because of all the inquiries from Kotaku and Destructive. But other than that, there's been some interesting news literally today, which is that IGN, the massive games media site, has been bought by Ziff Davis. Now, News Corp bought IGN about a year or so ago. And they've now sold it on because it doesn't fit as part of their games media sort of branding. Now, the weird thing is, IGN bought one up from Ziff Davis a long time ago. It's all so incestuous, but what's basically happened is that Ziff Davis have bought back something that they sold a few years ago, and now it includes their major rival in alongside it. So
it sounds like some kind of weird football transfer deal.
Yeah, or like some cut and shut, like Romford Market deal.
Yeah, like some car. The front half's an Escort and the back half's, like an Astra. But it works fine, don't worry.
Yeah.
It's a good
it's
runner.
All patched up.
Yeah,
it's not much on the clock.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, do either of you guys actually use IGN anymore?
Not really. The problem is I've always found that, and this is going to sound rather damning, but who cares? I've always found like their reviews are a bit kind of generic or sort of toe a party line, like IGN.
It's almost like reading the press release, isn't it?
Yes, IGN thinks a certain way, and that's how I must think. It's very robotic. That's the best way I can put it.
With no numbers existing below like 7.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I wouldn't say they were bought or anything like that, but I just find that they have to kind of, to keep their previews and reviews going. They kind of have to sort of play to the PR a bit.
I think it says a lot that the only reason I go to IGN nowadays is if someone says, hey, check out the comments section on this news article, because there's a lot of idiots on that. That's really it.
Fair enough.
I think it might be maybe for younger gamers than ourselves. I'm not too sure, but I know I
Really?
used to use it back in the sort of late 90s, in the sort of PS1 and run up to the Dreamcast era, and then it just didn't suit my sort of style of reading
Your
anymore,
attitude
so,
and kind of your thoughts
Yes.
on
So maybe we've kind of outgrown IGN and their funny little commenters.
I suppose maybe just too old for it now, man. It's like Radio 1. You know, I can't go back and listen to Radio 1 anymore because it's just like, oh, this is all children's music.
You played this 2 minutes ago. What do you mean it's not the same song?
Exactly. I'm just going to go off and get my cane and go and wave it at some kids, I think.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with IGN. I think it's a chance for Ziff Davis, who have maybe a little bit more trust than News Corp with the public. Maybe they can sort of raise the game a little bit.
Do you think like Ziff Davis buying them kind of might make that kind of one-up spirit kind of surface a little bit more? Or
I
do you think
really
it's-
hope so. If there's enough staff, old one-up staff at the current IGN as a larger company,
Yeah.
I'd love to see a resurgence of one-up. I mean, it felt like an independent site, even though it was run by like major publishers. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. There's been a real success story in the UK this week.
Right.
The game Ni no Kuni, the co-production between Studio Ghibli and Level 5, has gone to number 1 in the
I know.
UK charts.
A JRPG goes straight to number 1. You know, it's not Call of Duty. This is an unusual one, isn't it? Really,
Especially a PS3 exclusive as well.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
number
yeah,
one in
exactly.
the overall charts.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
That's pretty
I
cool.
mean, there's a lot of reasons why you could say it shouldn't have got there, aren't there? And it has.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. There's a lot going against it, but you know, like sort of a JRPG based on an kind of anime studio. Just capturing people's imagination. That's amazing. Now, it either says that you know it's an amazing game that's had a really good kind of preview reception, or it says that to get a game to number 1 in the UK, you don't need that many sales.
Yeah, especially at this time of year. I mean, it is the quiet time for the industry, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So who knows? But it'd be interesting to see the numbers on that one. Definitely.
It's had great critical reception as well, hasn't it?
Oh
So
yeah, totally.
If it's gone to number 1 without people having seen all the reviews and stuff, then
yeah. Well, I
hopefully
mean,
it'll fly.
you only have to look at the kind of the crowd that was around it at Eurogamer. Like as soon as people see those cutscenes and see that see it actually running, it was like 4 deep at the kiosk. So
It is like a little piece of magic, isn't it?
oh yeah, totally. I mean, I've got a copy of it and I am playing through it at the moment, about 4 hours in. So I'm not going to talk about it quite yet, but so far I'm quite enamoured with it. So it'd be interesting to see by this time next week, what I think about it and if it really lives up to the kind of hype, really.
Good stuff, because you really like their previous games as well, didn't you? Which
Yes,
I'm sure
mate.
we'll hear about.
Yeah, like all
later in the show.
so Dragon Quest. Like obviously, I spoke about it on our last show, which was way back when. But Dragon Quest 9 is like one of my favourite RPGs I've ever played, and kind of Leighton is amazing and all that kind of stuff. So really, I just can't wait to get back into it. It's gonna be great.
Good. Now, there's been this one story sort of made me laugh. It's quite a funny one. A Swedish police task force raided a bunch of teenagers playing Call of Duty because they heard there was like gunfire coming from a house.
Gunfire and screaming.
Yeah.
That's superb. Can you imagine? Like, so you're sitting there screaming away at your mates, and then all of a sudden this this bunch of armed men bursting through the door.
They were actually forced outside as well by like what people think was a SWAT team, like the Swedish equivalent of a SWAT team. A 10-man team. It's bizarre, isn't it?
That's insane, man. I'm surprised that the people playing Call of Duty didn't see it coming and hide in a corner though.
Yeah, and snipe.
Yeah. They'd already anticipated it, and they were actually setting up the SWAT team for a bit of retaliation.
They didn't set up their modded doors or whatever.
No, exactly, exactly. Or some other Call of Duty reference that I can't think of right now.
We can be thankful that in Sweden they don't shoot first and ask questions later.
Well, yeah, exactly.
This could have happened in some other
We're
countries.
not doing. Do you know what? We're not doing the greatest thing for all this sort of gun control in America and around surrounding video games, and we're sitting here talking about a bunch of teenagers taking out a SWAT team.
Well, not taking them out. It's not... Unless it's like some kind of bizarre dating show.
Yeah, exactly. We're just not doing a profile of gamers any good whatsoever. So sorry for that, guys. Sorry.
Another funny little story that's come up is that the new Pokemon game is going to be Pokemon X. Now, apparently, kids that have been typing that in on the net have been bumping into porn rather than the actual video game. So
yeah, but is it really porn, or is this Pokemon deviant art? I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there.
Well, it's a thin line though, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and obviously you don't want kids looking at deviant art with some of the nefarious people that hang around there. Oh, this Google takes the fucking piss, man. Type in Dracula X and I just get all this shite.
If you're looking for Dracula X Chronicles, why not just type Castlevania Rondo of Blood?
What? What the fuck's Castlevania? I'm looking for sweaty vampire porn.
What gets me is that site. Like, how do people get turned on by Sonic? I really can't get my head around it, but hey, people do. Each to their own, I guess.
Yes, mate. Where have we gone already?
Yeah, Sonic
first
porn
show back.
10
First
minutes.
show back with a new co-host, and we're talking about Sonic porn.
Yeah, naught to Sonic porn in like 10 minutes.
Well, I'd rather Sonic porn than Dr. Eggman, to be fair. But
Yeah, very, very good point.
True. Dr. Eggman, the Ron Jeremy of the Sonic world.
And don't type robot Nick wrongly, otherwise
No,
you
exactly.
get all sorts of stuff.
So is that all the news, my old mate?
I think that pretty much is. Yeah, I think we're done there. So should we have a little break?
Superb. Yes, mate. Break.
And welcome back. It's time for the obligatory What You've Been Playing section, so let's get things started. And Dan, what you been playing?
Oh, well, this week I've been playing, you're going to laugh at me, I've been playing COD Blops 2, Call of Duty Black Ops. Now, it's one of those games where, where you sometimes get a little, it's like when you get an itch and you have to scratch it every now and then. You just have to sort of jump in the multiplayer and plough your way through it. And when it first launched, I probably didn't play as much multiplayer as, well, certainly as a lot of other people that buy into the whole Call of Duty franchise. But I only got to maybe sort of level 13 or so in upgrading. So
Yeah, see, I always find that whenever I play like sort of Call of Duty, I end up getting to about level 22, 23.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of, my interest nosedives pretty quickly. And then I come back to it and I'll probably do another 10 levels and then that's it. Like, sort of, I never ever get past about level like 35, 36 because I just cannot be bothered to kind of go through every single pistol and, go through that grind.
yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. And I usually have the same thing, but I think this one's going to keep drawing me back over time. Because I know it's probably an overused cliche when people say, oh, it's like best-in-class multiplayer. But it really is. Do you know what I mean? Like, they know their game inside and out now. It works perfectly. Like, you know what you're getting, and you know it's going to be the same experience that you've possibly had before with new maps. But the maps are amazing. I haven't found a duffer, really. I mean, there's a couple that are maybe a bit more empty and bland, but I really, really like it, and I'm not ashamed.
I mean, you said a moment ago that, you thought it was the sort of the best shooter now. I mean, is it really fair to say that, though? Because I'd say there's enough difference between Call of Duty and Battlefield that they're sort of equally the best, really, aren't
Yeah,
they?
oh
They
yeah,
just
I'd say
offer
that-
different things.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that Battlefield is any less of best-in-class multiplayer. Like, I was kind of using it as maybe like not only one thing has that. I'm not saying it's better than
Yeah,
Battlefield or anything like that, but it is a different game and it knows its market. it's just going for that more arcadey feel, isn't it?
But are you of the impression that I keep hearing a lot about this new one, which is like it's getting too arcadey, you know, to the point where it's getting to the point of silliness, you know?
Possibly. It feels like the first one that I've played where I stand a fair chance against people that have been playing a lot longer, that have, say, where you see they've like prestiged like a dozen times or whatever.
But is that due to like the whole pick 10 system? And the kind of
Yeah,
like you've been
partly.
able to balance your negative attributes and the way your playstyle.
Yeah, I think it's partly that, and partly maybe that a lot of the hardcore didn't jump into this one with open arms.
Really?
Yeah, I think we maybe said that before, that this is... Maybe we didn't, maybe we weren't even recording then. But that this one maybe is the game that was picked up by people that aren't necessarily your Call of Duty fans. Like, whereas
Right, gotcha.
I know a lot of Call of Duty fans said, oh no, this is the first year I'm going to not buy into it.
Yeah, skip out on it. I mean, I know that's what I've done.
Yeah, so if a lot of
that-
people have done that, then I suppose I'm just going to naturally have a better chance in the games anyway.
Yeah. You sort of dilute the pool a bit.
Yeah.
As it were.
Also, I'm really ashamed that I gave up on the campaign partway through. I got to one of those... Have you seen the missions where it's kind of like an RTS? A real-time strategy type game, where you can zip down into different people on the battlefield to take over their...
Now that sounds suspiciously like an idea we had.
Yeah,
way
it does. I
back
wonder
when
if they've
in
been
one of our
listening
early-
to...
Yeah, way back when in one of our earlier shows.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. And yeah, it probably shows that the fact that I gave up the campaign when I hit one of those levels shows that maybe either they haven't done the idea very well and we would have done it better, or that it's something that's now been tried and probably doesn't... although it sounds good, it actually doesn't work very well.
Are you saying that we had a poor idea that was ambitious and probably wouldn't work very well?
Maybe, or maybe Activision just didn't do it properly.
Like one of the many things that we try.
But like, when you say that you can sort of dive into a soldier and play as them, I mean, is it possible to play through the whole level without controlling anyone? Is it that advanced in terms of like RTS?
It is, but the AI is not maybe as good as you'd want, and it's less fun if you're not jumping down into, say, a vehicle or like one of the individual soldiers.
Okay, sounds good. I mean, you were saying also, like, you know, the sort of hardcore Call of Duty crowd maybe haven't jumped on this. And there's a guy I work with who I know plays it. He's not part of the regular Call of Duty crowd, and he just plays zombies online and nothing else. I mean, have you touched that at all, or?
Only I've barely touched the sides. If that's is that a phrase I can use? Yeah,
go on.
Yeah, cool.
Little bit
I've
dodgy.
barely touched the sides of zombies. I'm sounding like some. Oh God, where am I going with this?
Necrophiliac.
Yeah. But okay, I'll rephrase it. Yes, I've played some zombies, but not as much as I would have liked. But the idea of the sort of branching zombies, like a kind of more open world sandbox experience, it maybe didn't come to fruition in the way it was sold before the game's release, but it's still bloody impressive what they've done, and just the whole atmosphere of it is really nice. I'm not sure I'd make it the sole thing I bought the game for, but I can see why someone else would if they're that into something like that.
Well, I can imagine if you've got a group of friends who are also into it, then every night it must be fun.
Yeah, and there is a lot to discover in there as well. I mean, there's all these bizarre, like sort of LucasArts almost puzzles to open certain things or find extra Easter eggs towards the story and stuff like that. So
Now, I've heard people talking about the zombie mode, and they've sort of said that it feels like an unfinished part of the game. Would you go along with that, or?
yeah, transit is possibly not exactly where they wanted it to be. Yeah, I'm not sure unfinished is the word, but maybe not as fleshed out as it could have been.
Right.
But see, the whole package of the game, I think I'm impressed with it, that you're getting that much anyway. I mean, it's a lot more complete than Zombies has been in the previous games. So
Gotcha.
it's not like a letdown as such.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see that it should have been, and hopefully will be, with the dreaded DLC that I'm not going to buy into, but hopefully they expand it that way.
So overall, then you're well chuffed with it, and you're just going to keep dipping back into it, as and when. Then.
Yeah, and now I've sort of got the feel back for it. I'm going to hit the campaign again, and it's not a massive campaign, so hopefully in the next show, because it's an interesting campaign, isn't it? I don't know if you know much.
I thought he was
about
going to say in the next 20 minutes you'll have it done.
Yeah, almost. It's I've seen some people say that they did it that quick, but as people always say, they finished the game like the first day it comes out, don't they? But yeah, I'm going to do that and let you know, because it's kind of a controversial, weird storyline, and apparently the ending is interesting, and I don't quite know how people mean that, so I'm interested to find out, and I'll tell you next time.
Ah, sweet.
How about you, man?
I've been playing a lot of Halo 4. So, on my fact-finding mission to actually see if I can enjoy a Halo game, basically.
This sounds like a podcast from when we last probably should have recorded a podcast.
Yes, mate, very much so.
So Call of Duty Black Ops 2 and Halo 4.
Halo 4, yeah, exactly.
All the hot new games.
We're up to date. Oh, yeah, keeping it on the cutting edge. But yeah, I mean, basically, I've played a lot of stuff over Christmas, like that. To be honest with you, I could bore you to death with Far Cry 3, which is amazing, and XCOM, which I've got to get myself. I rented that, and I've got to get a copy of that because that is going to be great for me to play when I'm on the exercise bike. But Halo 4 is the one that I've kind of ploughed a lot of time into for when we're coming back doing this podcast, and it's really pretty, and it is like technically brilliant. It's probably one of the most stunning games that I've ever played, like visually, and with like their set pieces and stuff. And all credit to 343 because they have done an amazing job of making it feel like there's no transition between Bungie and them. It really does feel like they've just taken what Bungie was doing and just taken it up a notch, really. So to be able to do that is actually quite impressive.
Do you think it's mostly the same tech?
Oh yeah, no, it will be, and I can imagine it's probably even some of the same staff from Bungie kind of coming over. But like I say, it's seamless. It really does feel, amazing. But the problem I've got with it is I've been playing through it, and I'm just getting this nagging feeling that for how pretty it is and how they've slightly. When I say they've slightly tweaked, I mean really slightly tweaked the combat. It just feels like I'm playing a relic of a bygone era. It's like kind of going back and playing like Quake Arena now, Quake 3 Arena. You just think, wow, how did we play games like this way back when? And I'm kind of getting that kind of niggling feeling in the back of my head that, this has gone as far as it can go. And no matter how much polishing, you do, it's, unless you do something really radical with it, it's never going to be... It's just never going to grow, or it's not going to go any further. It's kind of like it's going to be stuck at.
Mm-hmm. Is it not quite dangerous to start thinking like that though? Because really, you could say that about a lot of games that come out nowadays. They're just
totally.
It's
totally. I mean, it's kind of slightly a product of coming to the end of a console cycle as well. But also, maybe they're looking forward to the future and doing a lot bigger and a lot more interesting game. On the new consoles, but I don't know.
You've got to remember though that it was a trilogy that was, to all intents and purposes, finished.
Yeah, exactly.
And then now they've tacked on 3 extra games afterwards, and I think there is the risk that when you do that, people think, well, hang on, you finished your story, and do the devs get into that same cycle where they think, well, we can't do anything too important anymore because it's all been tied up?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's kind of. Films have the same problem, when they're trying to eke out a sequel from something that doesn't need one. So, maybe there's a bit of that, but I'll be honest with you, maybe it's partly from me that I really want to see, everyone's so into Halo and I want to know what it's all about because I just don't connect with it. I don't have that kind of weird power fantasy that kind of seems to push people through these games. You want to be the hero and the most Master Chief's not fallible enough. For me,
yeah, he's very much a sort of He-Man character, quite a sort of shallow.
Yeah, totally,
character.
Totally. He's always going to come through and come out the other side and be bigger and better. It's why I liked ODST was the fact that you were humans and you were fallible and you had, really conflicting emotions with things that were going on, and you just don't get that in Halo 4. It's like the second time that kind of Master Chief stands up like Rambo, looks into the camera. Sort of walks into the camera and gives a witty quip, and then it fades to black. It's just like action hero kind of Rambo stuff, and it's a bit. I don't know. It just feels a bit passé. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe you need to get on Spec Ops: The Line if you don't want your typical action heroes anymore.
Yeah, true, man. That is definitely a game that I've got to try out at some point. I've heard nothing but good things about that. But
I was thinking the other day, it's ironic that they marketed a Halo CE, like a remake of the first Halo. Have they not already done like 7 remakes of the first Halo?
Well, yeah. To be honest, that is very true, mate. That is very, very true.
Except not on all of them can you press the back button to see what it would have looked like back in the day. Have you playing anything else?
No, that's about it. Other than, like I say, a little bit of Ni no Kuni. They just got that through the post on Friday, so I've had the weekend to kind of get into that and get my head around it, and yeah, loving it. Absolutely loving it. So yeah, it's one of those things like going back to Halo. Like with Ni no Kuni, I'm sort of coming in and I'm desperate to get on my PlayStation and play it. You know, it's like forefront of my mind. Whereas with Halo 4, I've been just thinking of anything I can do not to play it. Like I'll be sitting there and I go, right, okay, so got a few hours to spare. Halo 4. I have got to clean out the cat litter tray. Okay, yeah, I'll go and do that. Okay, right, I've done that. Okay, what can I do now?
Alphabetise your CDs.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's all that kind of thing. And it's like, once you've done that 3 or 4 times, you start thinking, do you know what? I'm not enjoying it. I obviously didn't enjoy this game enough to kind of want to go back to it. It's not drawing me in. So, yeah, I think that's gonna go back to the rental service, I think.
So Love Film can have that back, can't they?
Yes, mate.
Good stuff. Now, I don't know if our listeners know this, but Ali, you're very much a PlayStation gamer, right?
Yeah, in general. I mean, that's the only home console I own. I mean, there's also, PC indie games. But yeah, PlayStation's the main home console.
How about the previous generation? Did you have an Xbox or did you play Halo at all?
I remember playing Halo before it actually came out, the original Halo, at the Edinburgh International Games Festival. It was local multiplayer, and I absolutely loved it. It felt like the future. It was an FPS, the type of which I hadn't really played before. It was incredible. But then, yeah, just didn't bother getting an Xbox. Haven't got a 360. It's fine. I can appreciate Halo. I'm not big into FPSs necessarily. So I'm surprised. Yeah, I mean, you've been playing Call of Duty, Chazzy playing that. I'm a bit out of place here.
Well, I'm generally not like much of an FPS person either. That's kind of why I went for Black Ops, just because it's so not really my kind of thing. So don't worry, you're not alone, man. Yeah, what have you been playing yourself?
Okay, well, I've been playing DMC, Devil May Cry. A quite decisive title. Obviously made by Ninja Theory for the first time.
Nice.
And well,
love them from like Enslaved and Heavenly Sword and that kind of stuff. So I'm really intrigued to see what this is. What you think about it, man.
Well, exactly. It's quite difficult to talk about in a way because for all that there are negatives about it from certainly the point of view of someone who liked the older games, it is actually a really good game, like in and of itself. Certainly the art's fantastic, but right, where do we begin?
Start at the beginning.
Yeah. Right, okay, well, first things first. When you start playing it, you actually won't notice much of a difference necessarily between this and the old Devil May Cries, apart from obviously the change of character's hairstyle, which certain people seem to be quite upset about. Because ultimately, on the face of it, the combat is just as good as it was in the olden ones. I say just as good, I mean just as complex, requiring as many button inputs of different sorts.
Is it many juggles?
Exactly. Different combos. I mean, you're really only using 2 buttons, but just different inputs of the buttons causes lots of different things to happen. It's pretty simple, but then as a fan of the older games, I mean, I seem to remember in them you could cancel out of combos and you could sort of cancel out of animations halfway through and stuff. In this, you can't, but that's not to take anything away from it. It's still fun enough. It's good combat. It's fun. It's just not as deep as it perhaps used to be. Certainly more accessible to a wider audience.
Is it deeper in any other ways, though? I mean, like, from what I've seen and heard, the plot is actually pretty interesting and maybe takes things in a sort of slightly weirder direction than the previous ones.
Yeah, it's probably got the best plot of any of the Devil May Cry games, really. Storytelling in it's really good. I believe the script was edited by the guy Alex Garland. You may know him, like he wrote The Beach and I believe other novels and certainly movies.
I've heard it gets a little bit sort of like semi-political and kind of there's lots of kind of
Oh, it's definitely a It's
References like that.
yeah. It takes note of what's happening in the real world at this current juncture. I mean, at the start of the game, you find out that this isn't spoiler. It's start of the game. The bad guy is the devil who essentially owns the world through debt. Like all the banks and governments just owe him like all the money.
Lay it on the line.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So it's sort of referencing the credit crunch and kind of all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and he controls the world through through drinks and advertising and everything.
That's pretty nutty for kind of what you think of as a third-person beat 'em up action game.
Well, exactly. I mean, just the ideas that go into the story and the sets and the atmosphere. Some of the art's out of this world. Like I've seen some people online compare the art to Salvador Dali in certain places.
Really? Wow.
It is really incredible. I don't know. Did you guys play Enslaved at all?
I did, yeah.
I didn't.
So
didn't
you know
really
that-
like it, but I know what it looks like.
Yeah.
They're that the art people at Ninja Theory are good people.
Oh,
and
they're phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, do they really kind of live up to their reputation then on that side of art direction and kind of stuff?
Yes, it's even better. I would say because they're given an element of freedom due to just the nature of the setting of Devil
Because
May
it's
Cry.
like a fantasy world and they can just go a bit crazy with it and go big
Exactly. I mean, you also like the one difference from this game to the others is I believe Dante spends most of this game in limbo. Sort of not quite the real world, not quite the demon world.
Not the black and white game with the boy, the little shadow
Yeah,
boy.
not quite.
Big spiders. No. Okay, fair enough.
But that gives them artistic license to just do whatever they want. I mean, you can be walking along and the ground will open up under you, and it makes sense because it's limbo and they've done it in a beautiful style. Like walls will close in, walls will fall apart. You don't know what's going to come next. There's platforming sections which work out fine. It's not.
Does it do a Bayonetta at any point and just go into mad, crazy homages to like kind of, Sega games or?
No.
Is it like is there a Space Harrier level?
Like the
Nothing
Capcom
at all
equivalent.
like that. I'm
No.
sure that the music that plays when you're on the mission select screen is like 2 notes different from some atmospheric Resident Evil music, like Resident Evil 2 in particular. I'm thinking, but so that's obviously a little thing that Capcom, shows that Capcom have involvement to make the game have this certain atmosphere about it.
So on a sliding scale then of kind of Bayonetta being at the top and the bouncer being at the bottom. Where does this sort of fall? Without
I really
giving
like
it
the
some.
bouncer.
all right. With the bouncer at the top.
Yeah. And then Bayonetta slightly further ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just under Bayonetta, I think. Although I mean the
Really?
storytelling and the art is, it's better than Bayonetta in a lot of ways. It's just the ideas that Ninja Theory have come up with, and it's probably, I think, someone who isn't necessarily been playing games like this since PS2, PS1 era, etc. It's pretty much the perfect entry level into that genre.
Alright, sweet.
In a lot of ways.
Do you think now there's been a lot of talk of the change in frame rate from 60 to 30. Is that a lot of fanboy whining, or does it actually translate to gameplay?
I think it's a lot of fanboy whining, but I should point out, I think the PC version does run at the higher frame rate.
Yeah, that's correct.
If anyone has the PC good enough to run it, so. But yeah, I think a lot of this fanboy outrage is just people who. It's the sort of people who wanted them to change the ending of Mass Effect 3, really.
Yeah.
And
then they'll still never be happy, no matter what ending they get.
Yeah.
Anyway, there'll always be some other niggle, won't there? So.
I mean, I should say I've played through all the previous Devil May Cry games on hard difficulties, and I don't want to blow myself up. If that's
Don't do that. Our first suicide bomber on the show, so
I don't want to blow my own trumpet.
that's the one.
But it's this Devil May Cry game is for sure the easiest out of them all. Like just to complete. Obviously, you can combo levels together and go for the S ranks, but just in order to get through it, it would be the easiest of them all. And even if you are going for S ranks, it is easier to get S ranks than it used to be. But it's really good. I mean, that's not a bad thing per se. It's just, it's different. Almost,
Again, it's just more accessible, isn't it? Just widening up the audience.
Yeah, and the character's just the same. I mean, people moan about, oh, you changed my Dante. But he's the same. He looks different, but he's, the same cocky personality.
It's almost like a skin, just like a skin change, like DLC.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine that if you just download, because I think they've got DLC coming up for it that changes the skin and stuff. So, you can look like the old Dante.
A skin change like DLC or MJ.
Yeah, exactly. Black or white hair. but I can imagine people are just going to start playing through that. With anyone who doesn't like it will just get that DLC, load it up, and then be happy as a pig.
Well, the thing is, this game really does try to tell a story. I mean, the levels themselves, there's no level that will last less than, say, 15 minutes. And that's because you have to watch cutscenes or you have to walk through an area while someone's talking to you.
So is it good for someone who's not got a lot of time and can just sort of come in, do an hour, save it, put it down, and then come back to it, the next day sort of thing?
Well, yes, but the point I was sort of trying to make is that there's no one level in particular where you're just fighting. Like, every level has a little platforming bit, then a fight, then a cutscene, then a little platforming bit, then a fight, then a cutscene. But certainly all the older games, you could load up some levels and they were literally just a fight. And there's no sort of, there's no horde mode or anything like that, or survival. I don't know, I wish there was almost more fighting. The pace is relentless, it never stops, but...
So they've kind of favoured story over combat.
Yeah. And it is a good story, it's really good. It's fun, it's interesting, the game's worth playing.
So it's definitely worth me picking it up as a rental then?
Yeah, definitely. If it was out in 2012, I'm sure it would have been a lot of people's top 5. So...
Alright. Nice. Oh, I'll have to get on that then.
Yeah, you love your third-person action-y kind of stuff, don't you? So.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, that's pretty much what we've been playing, I guess, isn't it?
Yes, mate. Right, so let's get to another break then, shall we?
Let's do that. Break.
Tramway across northern skies, cut my blue heart.
Wallander speaking. Who's this that is the one that is calling me?
It's Sergeant Wolfenberg, son. There's reports of gunfire from a house in the village, and what sounds like a dozen American 10-year-olds insulting a mother. Can you meet me by Tranquil Lake in one scene's time?
The same one we always film at?
By gum, you're good, Wallander. Or is it Sherlock said nowadays?
Ah, Sergeant Wolfenbergson. We meet again.
Wallander, glad you could join us. This is Inspector Olafson.
Good to meet you, Inspector.
Thirsty to you too, Wallander. I've heard a lot about you.
Jazzy, man. You can't do that. We're trying to weave a cutting-edge tapestry of parody here.
Yeah, man, you told me the AI bots was going highbrow and arty, like Dear Esther or Lady Gaga or something. That's why I agreed to be co-host.
It's an elaborate juxtaposition of that news story about the Swedish police raid on the Call of Duty kids and the sophisticated, considered tone of the police drama Wallander.
Oh, for goodness sake, guys. It's what everyone thinks when they think Swedish. Like, the chef and the Muppets. Are you telling me the Muppets are racist?
No, we're not
saying that. It's just...
Well then, can we carry on? The Smurfs to burst the house where the gunfire was heard to good is the worst.
Dude, it's just that times have changed.
Yeah, people have different sensibilities nowadays.
Oh, and they have different accents and that now, do they?
What do you mean? That's just a stereotype.
Well, while you two were watching the BBC localised version with all the posh voices and that, I've been getting into the original.
Eh?
What?
Look, pass me the laptop. Here we go, the proper Swedish version. Watch this.
Wallender's the burst speaking, here's the ghost the girl the bird.
Sure, Wolfenbergenschen. Hurst the burst, the girl, heard the burst.
The Hurstberg we always film at.
Sure, burst the Hirschverfeder.
See, it does sound like the Swedish chef off the Muppets.
So you're saying Jim Henson wasn't being a racist?
No, I'm not saying that. You might want to see this. YouTube, controversial Henson footage.
I am the Count, and I love to count. Who won? Who won racial stereotype? Two racial stereotypes.
We take you now to Kermit the Frog with another fast-breaking news story.
So I said, you stinking Belgians can shove your overpriced Belgian chocolate between your Belgian buns. Kermit, we're rolling. Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here for Sesame Street News. Hi, Bert.
Hi, Ernie.
My rubber ducky told me the PBS has liberal ideals that don't fit with my neocon Zionist agenda, so I'm heading over to Fox News.
Oh, Ernie.
And we're back. Now, to celebrate the release of Ni no Kuni, we're going to enter level 5 games into the AI Bots Hall of Fame this week. It's exciting, isn't it? Now, I'm sure there's other people more learned than us that have done the same thing with Studio Ghibli, but we thought we'd go for level 5 because it's to the more sort of video game aspect of Ni no Kuni.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, level 5 games, they're one of my favourite developers, but I've never really known that much about them, so I've gone off on a little search through the internet to find out as much as I can. Now, they were founded by the studio head Akihiro Hino in October 1998. Before that, he was at a company called Riverhill Soft. They made a couple of games on the PS1, the Overblood series. Now, have you guys heard of these?
Yeah, Overblood, legendary in my eyes as being possibly one of the worst games of all time. Clearly made when Resident Evil was a bit of a success, and they just thought, hey, let's do that, but in space. And
Everything's better in space.
yeah. If you type in Overblood on YouTube, and I'm sure you'll see what I mean. It's awful.
I quite liked it. Sadly, I know. Like, maybe it's not great. It's atmospheric though. Do you know what I mean? It's trying to do something. Maybe ambitious is the right word for it. We'll have to agree to disagree on this one, or we'll have to both go back and play it, and then I'll agree with you in hindsight that actually in this day and age it's dreadful. But yeah, so he went on he was lead programmer on the first one of those, and then for the sequel he was promoted to lead designer and director. Did you play the sequel as well?
I did, yeah. I've got a copy of that, and again, it's just as bad. It's got like 40-minute cutscenes that you can't skip.
Is that the one that's set
you
in
can
a
pause
city?
them, but you can't skip. It is, yeah, and there's a Scottish guy in it who has a limp and a horrible accent. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Is that the reason you don't like it? Just because they've given a Scottish man a limp?
Pretty much, yeah. Got to be honest.
Now, the name Level 5 is a reference to Japanese school reports. Like it's the equivalent of getting an A here is getting a Level 5 on your school report there. Or I suppose an A star nowadays.
And A
Did they get them on reports? Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever that would be. But that's what it's a reference to. So I suppose he's saying, oh yeah, we're sort of like top of the class.
Yeah, top marks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he took his old team with him from Riverhill Soft. So obviously that's why you like Dark Chronicle so much, because it's the Overblood team, Ali.
Well, that's it. I never knew this before. I never knew Level 5 really had anything to do with Overblood, and this is blowing my mind. It really is.
Has this now soured them in your eyes? Is that
It sort of made them cooler. It's like everyone has to start somewhere, and they started with one of the worst games of all time, and now, here they are. It's brilliant.
Now, when he started them, he didn't think they'd be the kind of team that would be capable of like making full games on their own. I think he was looking at it as more of an outsource house, doing jobs for other developers. But it looks like Sony recognised their potential and gave them a PS2 dev kit and support to make a PS2 exclusive for the launch. Now, although they started so small, they're now one of the top 10 developers in Japan. Now, that's due in no small part to a certain professor. However, that's much later in their career. So, let's start at the beginning. Their first game, Dark Cloud, as I say, was an early PS2 exclusive. Now, I remember seeing the trailer for this right when the PS2 was announced, very, very early on. I think it would have been like March 1999. Ken Kutaragi showed it off like during the announcement. And I remember the water effects being one of the big talking points on the internet at the time. Do you guys remember the PS2, like the excitement for the PS2 announcement at the time? Or
not me, mate?
Oh yeah, you were kind of out of games at the time, weren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I kind of dipped out at this stage, so I'm now hoping that Ali can hit us with a massive font of knowledge.
Well, I sort of felt the same way that I do about the possible next gen from where we are right now, in that I was excited and I was happy to see what they were happy to show us. But I knew that it would be a while before I was getting one. With the age I was at that time, it's not like I could buy a console, and now things might be too pricey. But certainly, I mean, yeah. Dark Cloud's a game I knew nothing about until I went round to a friend's house and saw him playing it one night, and I ended up pretty much staying there all the weekend, just watching him taking turns. It was incredible. Random dungeons, so much weapon crafting. Did you play it yourself when it came out?
I've never played the first Dark Cloud. It's like I'm quite ashamed that I haven't, seeing as I enjoyed the sequel so much.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know if going backwards to a more shallow game would have sort of not felt as good.
Well, yeah, in a lot of ways, if you've played Dark Chronicle, then Dark Cloud will appear possibly like a tech demo, because there's a lot more limitation there.
And in fact, even more of a tech demo would have been the Japanese version, which didn't have that weapon crafting you mentioned. They were added for the Western release.
Oh, okay.
To give it some extra depth. So I guess it might have been quite a bare bones experience. But you often get that at the beginning of a life cycle, don't you? You get these games where you can see they're trying to do something great, but they haven't got enough time to sort of fully flesh out all of their ideas.
Yeah, like the Bouncer. But yeah.
Yeah, another of your favourites.
I was going to say, second reference to the Bouncer. Wow.
Someone who prefers the Bouncer to Overblood. Wow. Nice. Now, them adding the weapon upgrades to the new version, and they added some other stuff as well, like a dungeon that you could go to when you'd finished the main game. But now they seem to have become known over the years for like multiple layers of depth in all of their games. Maybe not so much the Professor Layton series, but in all of their RPGs, there seems to be like system relating to system on these sort of deep arcane levels.
Yeah.
And I think Dark Cloud Western release is probably the start of that. It did really well sales-wise as well. It sold about 1 million in total. And critics seem to like it. It seemed to be sort of like an 8 to 9 game floating around the 8.5 mark.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of comparisons were made to Ocarina of Time. People compared this one to Ocarina, and then when they moved on to the sequel, it seemed to be hyped everywhere as Sony's answer to Wind Waker. This was in not only in the press, but I think Sony might have courted this themselves, because they released the game like I think it was 2 weeks before Wind Waker in Japan and 3 weeks before in the US. So where with Killzone, where Sony are like, oh no, we never said it was the new Halo. We never said it was going to be our answer to Halo. I think they wouldn't be able to get away with that with Dark Cloud 2, as it's known in the USA, or Dark Chronicle over here. But yeah, they so it looks like they started work on the sequel straight after the first game had launched, and it's where we find the beginnings of their cell shaded style, like which is kind of now what they're pretty much known for, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
I can't see Ghibli maybe even working with any other
No,
team.
yeah, I mean, it is probably one of the things that did draw Ghibli to doing Ni no Kuni is that they just do this cell shaded style so well.
And not only the cell shading, the like the animation style of Professor Layton.
Well,
where
yeah,
it's
not only that, but also like they do like to infuse their games with a lot of charm, and that is like kind of right up Ghibli's alley as well.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that kind of combination is just like it's like a perfect match, really.
There seems to be a sort of fairy tale type feel to a lot of their games, really, even, in the early days with Dark Cloud and Dark Chronicle. It's good.
which is no bad thing. 'Cause you don't seem to games seem to have moved so far towards like realism that I think it is quite a breath of fresh air to have these sort of colourful, weird fantasy worlds, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Now, some people at the time said the sequel is more of the same. Now, it's one of my favourite games, and I know, Ali, you really like it too, right?
Hmm. Oh, definitely, yeah.
See,
Yep.
my counter to that is there's so much more of the same that it's like an evolutionary leap. It's not just like you could say it's more of the same, but then
It's even more in depth.
yeah, exactly. It's going in all directions, like a kind of crazy hollow cube or something. But the weapon upgrade system, it just keeps on going. Like you can keep evolving your weapons, like by
Yeah, like I don't think there is a perfect weapon. You can just keep on making them stronger and stronger forever, pretty much. I mean, no one's even mentioned the sort of town building aspect yet from Dark Cloud and obviously Dark Chronicle too.
Yeah.
It's not just dungeon exploring and capturing monsters or fighting them, but you have to build a town and keep people happy by placing their houses in certain positions and giving them certain amenities.
Can't put Mrs. Miggins like too far away from the bakers.
Right,
stuff like that.
not knowing this game and not having played it, you're making it sound very much like SimCity.
It is, in a way.
Yeah. But that's like a tiny aspect of the game. But in any other game, it would be a huge part of the game.
So like you were saying about like layering system on system, like they've given you this whole RPG and then like a mini SimCity built with inside it, with it all its systems and stuff that goes with that as well.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's like someone never told them when to stop putting new stuff in the game.
Yeah, like how Zelda has fishing, and you catch the fish, and then there's not really much you can do with the fish.
Yeah.
You catch them, and that's it.
Yeah.
In this, you'd catch a fish, then you'd put it in your aquarium, and you could level it up and like enter it in races or fish fights. Or
I want to see a racing aquarium.
Well, exactly. Yeah, it's like a ring, and apparently fish know how to race.
Right. Fair enough.
And also, the
it's
more
good.
you level up your fish, like, am I right that you can apply any items to? Oh no, not any items, but you can apply items to the weapons and stuff like that. So
Yeah, you can probably apply a fish to your sword and give it, better attributes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
yeah, it's totally bizarre, man. You'd really enjoy it if you liked some of their later games.
But is that all kind of laid out so that's easy to find, or is it just one of those things where you've just got to go through and just keep throwing stuff at swords until, oh my god, that this fish works with this and it makes like the mega sword of awesomeness?
Yeah, it's kind of an experimental sort of trial and error process, I think.
Yeah.
But
Well, I believe like every item in the game is defined by a different element.
Right.
So like for example, a loaf of bread might be fire element. I don't know.
Toasty.
But even bread and milk and everything,
Yeah.
it has an element. So it will improve your weapon,
In that respect, right?
in line with that element, or strength or defense, etc.
Gotcha.
another extra layer that I've just remembered. Get this, Chazzy, right? If you want to make the aquarium that Ali's talking about to keep your fish in from the fishing game, you have to take part in this like photography mini game where you have to take a photo of. I think you have to take a photo of like a fountain or some water of some kind. Then take a photo of some wood to make the frame of the aquarium, and then a photo of a window to make up the glass. And then you combine the three photos together to get the invention of the idea of an aquarium that you can then make. Innit?
That's insane. So what you're basically telling me is you've got a JRPG that's got SimCity built into it, that's got Pokemon Snap built into it, that's also got crafting from World of Warcraft in it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Fucking hell.
it's totally bizarre. I really, really loved it at the time, and I think I'd love to try it again just to see if it is as much of a kitchen sink approach as I thought it was at the time.
That's
Because I just
insane.
love the idea that nobody said should we stop now? Like, is this too much to take photos of things to make inventions of ideas for new items in the game?
I've just got in my mind like they're just pulling anyone in off the street, like, pulling in the T-boy. Have you got an idea for anything you've ever wanted in a game? Because we'll do it.
Totally
We're
feels
mental.
like that, though.
Yeah, we'll do it.
And then it also involves time travel, and you've got like you can take like these stompy mech robots around. It literally is trying to be everything to everyone. It's trying to be like the game for all men.
But even the time travel has so much depth. I mean, you can travel to the future or to the past or stay in the present. And like you can build a house in a certain place, then travel to the past, and the house will still be there in the future, and you know what I mean? You'll get different items and stuff. It's so deep.
So is it like sort of Chrono Trigger in that respect, where you're kind of jumping through time, going back and like solving a puzzle to then come back into the future? And
yeah, but the puzzles you're solving are based on like the SimCity elements,
right,
where you have to like go back like to the past and then put new things in the city, so that when you go to the future, it's all as you want it to be then, after however many years of that object being in the environment.
So it's not as linear as Chrono Trigger is, where it is like that is a nailed on story element, story arc. It's actually like works into the kind of side quest.
There are certain things that you have to do to progress the story, but there are a lot of bonus items that can be gained just by experimenting and placing something somewhere, then going to the past or the future just to see what effect that's had. Or even on the ancestors of the people who lived there in the present.
So we're concentrating on this game way too much.
Yeah, very
obviously.
Probably.
You guys are well into it.
Now, what I will say about it is that critically, it did better than the first game. Some sites even called it PS2 Game of the Year, and like as you've heard, like Ali and myself can wax lyrical about it. I know a lot of other people that really enjoyed it, but it didn't transfer to sales. The figures were only around half of what the original sold. It got just over 500,000 copies, which is really sad, considering they had a bigger market to play to. It really didn't do very well sales-wise.
Building off the critical success of the previous game, that seems kind of odd, but maybe it just didn't get the backing.
And also,
well, there was a lot of really good PS2 JRPGs.
Right.
So.
Admittedly, it's a kind of flooded market, wasn't it, at the time?
Also, and it's a bit of a risk launching so close to Wind Waker, a very similar cel-shaded action RPG.
Gotcha.
The lackluster sales of the game didn't stop the industry buzz, though. Microsoft courted the team to produce an MMO RPG for the original Xbox. It's going to be called True Fantasy Live Online, and it was
just what a name,
the most generic name ever. I'm sure it's been used by a dozen Korean RPGs already, but.
Yeah. Well, they probably had to check there wasn't any lap dancing clubs already called that. Yeah.
Now, this was part of Microsoft's attempt at the time to get Japanese developers on board to try and increase their market share in the East. Don't know if you remember that.
Or the Blue Dragon strategy.
Yeah, very much an earlier side of that. And it was intended to mimic the success of Final Fantasy XI, which was already quite popular on the PS2 at that time. Obviously not over here, but this is on the Japanese market. Sadly, well, we don't know if it's sadly or not. Who knows what the game was like? But the title was cancelled in 2004 after about 2 years in development. Now, the cancellation is a really interesting story. I got proper lost down rabbit holes with this one. The game was apparently fully playable at the time the axe fell, but Microsoft were unhappy with Level 5's inability to put voice chat in the game. Now, I can understand that an MMORPG would be a lot better if it had voice chat, but this was 2003 on the original Xbox Live. Like, no games were doing that. And the game world was meant to support up to 3,000 players. So how Microsoft expected a team that had done 2 games previously to put in voice chat for 3,000 people at once?
On a console. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, totally bizarre.
Insane. Sounds like it'd be amazing though if they'd have ever made it. Like 3,000 people MMO on on Xbox Live. It could have been quite revolutionary.
It would have been fantastic, as long as they didn't implement voice chat where you could hear all other 3,000 people at once.
At once, yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely have to be proximity.
In the development, the frustrations grew on both sides, and Microsoft delayed the product from autumn 2003 to the vague date of 2004. Then the following E3, the game didn't make a showing. It was a total no-show, which at the time, a lot of sites were like, "Oh, what's happened to it?" And then, lo and behold, very shortly after, Microsoft pulled the plug. Now, Akihiro Hino, the guy we've been talking about, the lead of Level 5, I think he must have been angry at this point. Because what he said in an interview in Japan was that he partly blamed Microsoft's lack of experience dealing with Japanese studios. So, not that I'm saying that that's wrong, but for him to sort of come out and say it is quite
Well, weird, yeah.
Yeah.
No smoke without fire.
Yeah. And interestingly, Microsoft to this day have still never released that big MMO that they've kind of always hinted at. The former manager of Microsoft Game Studio, a guy called Shane Kim, do you remember him from the industry
Yes.
E3 talks and
Yes.
stuff? In 2008, he said that although there've been 2 failed attempts, the other one, Marvel Universe Online, he said, quotes, "There's nothing to say those titles, i.e. MMOs, can't be successful on 360. But if they can't, then why haven't you done one yet?" Like,
Well, yeah. I mean, the only sort of game like that I know of is the DC Universe Online, and it's had a reasonable following, but I don't think
It's free to play though.
Yeah,
that's,
it's going to
that's
say
the
it's
thing,
not.
yeah.
But the thing is, it's not really set the world alight. You know, it's doing okay, but in MMO terms, but you know, it's not sort of, it's not Halo standard, is it?
yeah, or even like, well, I was going to say WoW standard. Nothing's going to
Well,
be.
yeah,
WoW
no,
standard,
exactly, yeah.
But yeah, nothing can match that kind of thing. Another difficulty with the 360 is there's no unified hard drive. Do you know what I mean? You've got the arcade systems.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's a lot of limitations there to create these sort of MMOs, isn't there? So it's a shame it didn't work. You know, as an experiment. You know,
who's to know? On the 720, we might finally see.
Yeah.
MMO.
I think MMOs are pretty much like sort of dying off as a concept. They're going to be there will be very few and far between, I can imagine.
Do you think they'll be sort of absorbed into other genres? Like you get an MMO FPS, an MMO beta,
Yeah.
MMO.
I think it's already
very much-
happening, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Really.
very like the RPG was then spun off into RPG FPSs and that kind of stuff.
I mean, in a way, the only difference between Borderlands 2 and an MMO is that it's 4-player. You know, if
Well,
you
yeah,
open that
and
up, it is essentially an MMO already, really.
Yeah, totally.
Someone needs to
Anyway.
match up Borderlands and Mag, or not.
Anyway, digression.
Yeah, no. So they had this massive cancellation of a game they'd worked on for 2 years, but they hadn't just worked on the one thing. They kind of hedged their bets. They had other games in development, one of which is possibly the biggest contract available in Japanese development at the time. Now, the Dragon's Quest series, lesser known in the West, particularly in the PAL territories, but in Japan, it's been phenomenally successful for nearly 30 years. Now, I'm sure you all know the stories where, they have to release it on certain days of the week because otherwise people don't go to work or school.
Yeah, it's always outsold Final Fantasy in Japan, hasn't it?
Yeah,
That's what I
traditionally,
believe,
yeah. Now, the stories about having to release on a certain day are apparently slightly exaggerated. It's not quite how it sounds, but even so, for the story to exist, as you said, there's no smoke without fire. It is a phenomenal success. And Level 5, this pretty much, well, not unknown, but very much untested company, was signed to code Dragon Quest 8, which I find phenomenal. Like at the time, I was so surprised, but so sort of happy that this team that had made one of my favourite games in Dark Chronicle were going to be able to make this huge turn-based RPG. It was like a sort of combination of all of my dreams come true, really. And they were signed to do it when Enix were just Enix before the merger. But seeing as none of the previous Dragon Quest games had made it to Europe, I'm not entirely sure we would have got it if it hadn't been for the Square Enix joining together.
And thank God for that, because it is, for me, it's pretty much a perfect JRPG. There are other perfect JRPGs out there as well, but yeah, Dragon Quest 8, fantastic.
It's almost, I think it's, I know there aren't degrees of perfection, but if you looked up in the dictionary, like perfect JRPG, this is what should be there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It just does everything right. And
I mean, in a lot of ways, it's less complex and less in depth than Dark Chronicle was, but then it doesn't matter. It's, it does what it does perfectly. So
also, that's kind of expected of the Dragon Quest games, isn't it? They're like, I mean, throughout the whole PlayStation 2's lifespan, we had like Final Fantasy 12 and Dark Chronicle itself, and all these other RPGs trying to sort of stretch the formula in all these other directions. But Dragon Quest 8 kind of harked back to a simpler age.
I mean, it took everything which other JRPGs had done before, but just sort of refined it and perfected it and wrapped it up in a little charming package. Even the voice acting, which, I mean, I'm going to think of Final Fantasy X now and voice acting in that. Like the voice acting in Dragon Quest VIII was really charming, really good, quite entertaining, not at all annoying in any way, really.
Well, it used actual sort of known and respected actors, like from the sort of British pantheon, didn't it? Like, you've got like comedians that you hear on TV doing voices and that kind of thing. It's absolutely superb game. Now we're gonna carry on with this next week because we've already waffled about level 5 quite a lot, and Ali and I have had our little fanboy spooge over Dark Chronicle.
Yeah.
But in the future, their fortunes were to change with their biggest commercial success to date. That's the Professor Layton series. But that, my friends, is a story for next time.
Yay.
So, we'll come back to this. Now, we've had some questions and emails. First one from Jace Stokes. He said, okay, there's a zombie apocalypse. You can have one weapon and one ability from any game. What's it going to be and why?
Who wants to go first?
I'm going to jump right in there. All right, well, my weapon is the inflatable scouser from Worms 4. You can't walk into any zombie apocalypse without a scouser, let alone an inflatable one. And you send them out. They act like bodyguards. Surround yourself with them. It's good. Looking forward to
the Walking Dead episodic series, wouldn't
it? Yeah.
But what happens when they all pop and disappear? That's it. That's it. Like,
I'm not.
Is this a low use item?
Yeah, but by that point, I've had my laugh. I can die happy.
Oh, right, okay. Fair enough. I'll take that. Die happy. That's good. I like it.
But ability, like, that's a difficult one to think of. I don't really play sort of games with abilities, but probably so.
Sorry.
Other than the RPGs.
Yeah, it made it sound like you don't have abilities.
Yeah.
I can't jump, walk, run.
That is what I was getting at. But Solid Snake's ability to sneak cigarettes up his bum while maintaining dignity on his way to a terrorist facility. That's an ability I could go for. Come in handy.
Okay.
Especially in the zombie apocalypse. If you need to work in like some Dutch zombie strip club, then that's probably quite a handy trick to have.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
If I get eaten by a zombie, I don't want them stealing my fags. So just as long as they don't, go up there, we're fine.
Job's a good one. For me, I've got to say, I would probably end up going with a massive kind of samurai sword, definitely, and then the ability to have infinite stamina. Because the one thing I've learnt from reading World War Z is that the zombies do not get tired. They will keep coming. So as long as I've got infinite stamina to A, run, or B, swing a sword, I'm laughing. That's literally my kind of... I've considered it over many hours.
Is it a specific samurai sword from any specific game?
Just a very sharp one. And any, whatever the most awesome samurai sword is that from wherever. But yeah, just that would be it. It's a pretty boring answer, but you've got to go, I'm going survivalist on this one.
Now, my weapon would be, I don't know if it's going to be handy, but it's only because I just want the weapon, is the axe from Golden Axe.
Right.
But I don't think I'm going to need the weapon because my ability is going to be Pac-Man's ability to eat a power pill and then eat his foes. So I could just like go and chow down on the zombies.
All right. So yeah, you're getting a source of food and destroying the enemy at the same time. That's pretty clever, man.
Yeah, and I've got an axe that I don't need to get dirty because of my special ability. So
what's the point of having it then?
Well, I can put it on eBay for like when the apocalypse sorts out and everyone's trying to pick things up again. And...
Just makes them look cool.
Yeah, genius. Exactly. That's genius.
I look a bit like the dwarf from Golden Axe anyway, so it's just suitable. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Dan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
You guys have put a lot more thought into this than me. I'm dead, but I'm gonna die happy. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
You can survive all you want.
I think there's no more thought than an invisible scouser, man. So...
That's genius. That's genius, mate.
Inflatable. Right, so, never mind. Yeah.
Next question.
Next question from someone entirely different. This comes from the Console Ninjas. Is it true you've only taken on another host just to give you a chance in the Game Burst quiz rematch?
Now, we all know that we do not need any chances in the rematch, as we are reigning champions in said quiz.
If you needed a new host to win, you wouldn't have taken me on. Let's face it. So,
not true.
You're fine.
Not true. As long as it's about level 5 games, then we're laughing.
yeah, if it's about like the systems in Dark Chronicle 2, we'll just have to sort of like give James Batchelor a backhander to make sure it's all about the photography
Mate,
system.
and I'm not being funny. You couldn't be any worse than me at the music round. You'd be plus 100 to your stats for listening to music and being able to do better than me on that round because I was awful. I was just sitting there like, I have no idea what this is. I don't listen to the music.
And if anything, we've just got ourselves a super sub.
Yeah,
pretty much.
mate. Yeah, mate. Exactly. We're just enhancing the already great stature of our knowledge.
That's
Yeah.
all right. I'll get stretching, stay warmed up. It's all good.
Exactly. Get up and down that touchline, son. You'll be on in a minute.
Now, keeping it classy as ever, we've got a question from Fordy who says, "Would I do your new host?"
And yeah. Well, would you? That's the question. Would you?
Would
Let me
he?
know.
It's a question for him, not us, really, isn't it? But
Yeah,
could
I
he?
mean,
Could
yeah.
he? It's maybe a question that we can answer.
I don't want to commit until I've spoken more to the man.
That's it. That's it. Play hard to get, son.
Yeah, exactly. I want to see what's in it for me.
See if you can get the flowers and the meal out of him first. Like it.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and he'd have to travel all the way to you, I suppose, rather than you going because you're at opposite ends of the country, aren't you?
Oh, it can be sorted. If he gives me his terms, I can sort something out. It's all good.
AI bots pimp service.
Now, yeah, this is going rapidly in a weird direction. So yeah, 4D, if you want to get in touch, I'm sure you know who our new host is by now. So get in touch with him and do your thing. We've also had a question from Mumbot on Facebook. She asks, "What is the meaning of life?" Now, I'd say the meaning of life is going on the AI Bots Facebook page and asking us a question, or emailing us, email@theaibots.com, or asking us a question on Twitter. You can find us at the AI Bots. Is that the meaning of life for you guys as well?
Yeah, totally, man. Because there is literally nothing else other than getting questions for our hokey internet radio show.
Yeah, it is now for me. Yeah.
If you do it now, then in a couple of years' time, you can be a hipster and say, "Yeah, I was sending questions to the AI Bots like way before you."
anyone else. Yeah, exactly. I was in early.
And that goes for like any topics you'd like to talk about in the second half of the show, or you'd like us to talk about in the second half of the show, or yeah, any questions at all. Send them in to us. We'd love to hear from you. And I think that's us pretty much done, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much, mate. Just sort of get over to we've got a newly formed Facebook page. So if you want,
Oh yeah, we've gone to the dark side.
yes, mate.
Yeah. Now you can find us if you go to Facebook and search for the AI Bots. You'll find us on there. If you like the page, we'd love you long time.
And there's going to be lots of stuff going up on there, like sort of old skits from the show, bits coming up, any kind of fun little bits that we think of. We're going to kind of stick it up there. So as well as the
At
website.
Imagine Willie's request, we're going to be putting up the Nanny Pack Hat sketch sometime before the end of the week as a little treat for him. That was the one that he said he'd most like to see again. So.
Superb. So yeah, come along there. That's kind of come along, build a community, and kind of get chatting basically.
Yeah, and a massive thanks to Ali.
Yeah, mate.
Our new co-host. It's been great.
Done a blinding job, son.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
Well, that's enough mutual backslapping. Should we get out of here, man?
Let's do that. See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.